this is pretty cool. Our next guest here this morning is a native Minnesotan making a name for herself in the baking world.
And here's why. She doesn't use any added sugar. Jayne Jones is known as the No Sugar Baker, and she's out with a new book, The Cookbook of Healthy Living and No Regrets. Joining us with tips to keep sugar at bay, author Jayne Jones. Thanks for joining us.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Hey, good morning, everybody.
You're talking to two girls who have an extreme sweet tooth, so
I know.
You got a lot to do to convince us here. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get to this place of learning how to cook without added sugar?
Yeah, you know, it's not an easy story to tell, but it's a good one. I'm embarrassed to tell you, I ended up in the emergency room on my 44th birthday. My blood pressure was like 289 over 189. They say my glucose level was 600.
Wow.
They diagnosed me as severely diabetic. And the ER physician told me these magical words. She said, for the rest of your life, you need to eat lean meats and salads and set me on my merry way. Well, she didn't tell me the next day I was going to wake up with no eyesight for the next 3 weeks of my life.
Wow.
But here's the good part. 6 months later, insulin-free, diabetic medicine-free, 60 pounds lighter, and that vision was back to 2020. And yes, I was completely sugar-free.
Okay.
That is a story.
That is a story and quite the transformation. So, I mean, how did you even go about doing that? How does one do that?
This kitchen behind me, I grew to, I used to love it, right? I'm a Minnesota girl who loves to make tater tot hot dish, peanut butter bars, so to speak, all those great things. I gave it up for a while, right? The first 6 months when I thought life was miserable and the sky has fallen, I gave it up. Everybody kept telling me, you just have to get through the holidays. You just got to get through the holidays. Found myself at the grocery store, literally said a prayer to the guy upstairs and said, hey, you know what? I got to live again. I got to be myself again. There's got to be an answer. I made this kitchen behind me my science laboratory. I call it my culinary science experiment, where every single day, basically now, I'm trying to make a new recipe, trying to figure out how, again, to have that sweet tooth that we just talked about back into my life, completely sugar-free. And I'm talking, I can't even have a banana. The second I have a banana right now, you know, it's the first thing to go in about an hour.
Your eyesight?
Yeah.
Wow.
And let me tell you this. I love watching a hockey game just like everybody else is watching right now. And that fear of not being able to see a hockey game or be able to see our daughter on the volleyball court, I never want that again in my life.
Sure, yeah, obviously you have such a motivation to figure this out. So you mentioned, obviously, excuse me, the kitchen behind you has kind of been a lab where you've obviously, I'm sure you've had ups and downs in that where you're like, okay, this did not go according to plan, or this was disgusting, or oh my God, it worked. What are some of the things that you found then that you can still have a little bit of that, you know, sweetness?
Yeah, I have to be very careful. So like sometimes people use honey. Well, honey to me is all natural sugar. I've had to learn that there's almost like 75 different definitions of what sugar is. So I use an all natural root vegetable sweetener that measures equal to sugar in my recipes. Okay, so I go and use that. I found it by the luck of God at the grocery store. But I also now have to use unsweetened almond milk. I have to use butter. I've learned that there's like, here's the No Sugar Baker monster cookie right in front of us. I've had to learn that there's sugar-free chocolate chips. And they're going to taste okay, and they're not going to raise my glucose level at all. I've also had to learn that, per my doctor, I need to drink half my body weight every single day in ounces of water. Ooh. That's a lot. And I had to figure out a way to make, yeah, I see the pizza right there. We used to love ordering pizza all the time. Flours are tricky, right? Flours actually add, carbohydrates add sugar. It's kind of a different way for a sugar. So I figured out how to make a cheese-crusted pizza and also a bacon-crusted pizza that literally will knock your socks off.
So what was the point for you? Obviously, you started coming up with these great recipes. They taste good. When was it, I'm going to put this in a cookbook and take it to the next step?
You know what? Here's what happened. Our daughter came home from college during COVID. I'm a lawyer who just got sick. I started posting pictures on my personal Facebook page telling the story of what happened to me. She came home from college during COVID from Cornell in Iowa. And she's like, hey, people really like what you're doing. You're sort of like America's No Sugar Baker. Guys, just to make her happy, we started a Facebook page just called that. And hey, in just over a year, we have about 135,000 followers.
Wow.
40,000 people tune in to watch me on Saturdays talk about being a Minnesota girl and also showing the new recipes off. They all kept saying, we want a cookbook, Jayne, we want a cookbook. So we put the first cookbook together in March. The second one comes out in about 2 weeks, and it's 100 recipes. Get this. I actually sent an email message, the foolish person I am. I sent an email message to the COO of Lunds and Byerly's. They're celebrating No Sugar Baker Month the entire month of January from that email message, and they're having me in the stores this weekend.
That's awesome. You know, I think a lot of people might find some motivation here, and maybe they don't need to cut out all sugar. You know, maybe they don't need to do that, or they don't want to do that, but they want to kind of cut back. Is that kind of something too that hoping that this gives people a reason to maybe try one recipe and see how it goes?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Here's the thing. You know, 10% of the population, like myself, is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. I had no clue. I was on the end of the spectrum, so to speak, right? I was not in a good place. But I'd ignored all the signs. But your friends that are keto folks, a lot of keto dieters out there right now, or keto eaters, every recipe that we have is keto friendly. It's good for oncology patients. It's good for folks with heart disease, and it's good for folks that are just maybe looking for a little something you put in your mouth that doesn't necessarily go to your thighs, like we talked about.
Like my dad used to say. I would imagine too, your family might be your taste testers. Are they brutally honest with you?
Yes, my parents. So my parents in the blog, we call them folks. They live in New York Mills, Minnesota, which is very close to Fargo, kind of right where I grew up. So they're the folks in the blog. So we talk about them all the time. They're my taste testers. They're the very first ones I actually made a recipe for. And believe it or not, this is kind of a funny story. I didn't tell anybody I was starting to cook again, starting to bake. I brought it over to them. And I didn't taste it at all. I just waited for their reaction. I wanted to see if they passed out, they thought it was disgusting, or what their reaction was. You know what they did? They started to cry.
Whoa.
And they said, "This is the day we've been waiting for since the day you got sick. Our daughter is back. That spirit is back. Her energy's back. And it actually tastes good. So go try to make something else again too."
That's awesome.
Love it. We appreciate you sharing your story with us. It's a great one. And again, as we mentioned, you're going to be around the Metro this weekend signing copies of the book. So we'll give some information on that. But again, thank you. It was so good to meet you. And hopefully we can have you in studio sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can try out these monster cookies. Or I just saw Alex just posted that she made peanut butter cookies list. I challenged her to make the No Sugar Baker chocolate chip peanut butter bacon cookie.
Ooh.
Okay. Challenge accepted. She's not here, but I'll take the challenge for her.
Awesome.
Thank you
guys.
so much.
See you soon.
The Cookbook of Healthy Living and No Regrets. It's available now. Again, Jayne will be appearing at several Lunds and Byerly's this weekend, all because of that email. She'll sign copies and make no sugar brownies. Visit nosugarbaker.com for more information.